The Murrumbidgee Pastoral and Agricultural Association was responsible for hosting the annual Wagga Wagga shows. They did this on a number of sites, and the third and final site is the one on the Albury Road, or now known as Travers Street, where it still stands. This presentation highlights the various buildings within the complex and provides an insight into how communities interacted with local shows. This is a contemporary aerial view that allows us to make comparisons with earlier aerial views in order that we can see which buildings might have disappeared or any that have been added or other changes to the site. It also shows its relationship to areas surrounding the site. This is a 1971 aerial view, and we can see straight away that there are significant differences to the more contemporary one. Most notable is that this aerial view includes Hammond Hall, which burnt down in 1974. This is a 1952 aerial view, and we can see the railway line running through the site and commercial activity to the on the northern side of the line. Looking on the right-hand side of the showground site, we can see the original pavilion building, and then as we head left, the agricultural shed, the original grandstand, then the newer grandstand, and that big large square building to the left of that is Hammond Hall. This is the earliest aerial view available. This is 1944. And the main thing we can pick up in this is that the showground track is clearly different to what it is nowadays. This is an August 1930 plan, which shows the layout of the showground site and confirms the locations of the various buildings. This is a very early photo, possibly late 1880s, which shows the very first buildings on this site. On the right, we have the pavilion, followed by the agricultural shed. This is as we head left, then the grandstand, and then other buildings to the left of that. Horse-drawn vehicles were a primary means of transport in those early days. This is the original grandstand with the new name that was adopted in 1884. Additional seating has been added to the left of the building. This is a colour-enhanced photograph that demonstrates some of the buildings to the left of the original grandstand, and as yet the new grandstand has not been constructed. We can also see that on the hill to the east there's a total lack of development in those days. This photograph is really about the people, the men standing on the seat, the children sitting inside the fence, the clothing, the hats that the men wear, and especially the hats that the ladies wear. This photo was taken in 1918, and the people are all facing the grandstand to hear the speech of Governor Davidson, who officially opened the show. This is an unusual photograph in that it shows the buildings to the left or to the east of the grandstand. It includes the new grandstand and Hammond Hall on the extreme left. This is another early 1900s photo that shows the grandstands and some buildings to the left, and many people entered from the northern end of the showgrounds and walked up This is a 1917 photograph, and it shows those similar buildings again, but it highlights the three-winged building to the left of the grandstands that has an elevated tower in the centre. And it demonstrates, there's no curb and guttering, there's no asphalting of the driveways, it's just all dirt. This is a 1911 photograph of that three-wing building with the central tower, which gives you a clearer image of what it looked like. This photo shows a collection of competing Clydesdales and just the people milling around the fence to view the activities. This is a photo of the rear of the newer grandstand, which is an odd-looking building because the western side is cut square rather than the rounded roof line that sits on the east. It has the appearance that it was always the intention of the committee to add to the western side, but that's never been done. This is one of several photos in this presentation of the members and people associated with the running of the show. This is a 1918 photo of members and judges associated with that show. And it's just interesting to see, firstly, how many of them have a mo, so they're popular, and just the different hats. And James Gormley will be evident in all of these photos that we look at, and you can pick up Gormley in the middle row in this one. This is a 1917 photo of the show committee, and James Gormley can be seen in the back row. And I'm not sure what the purposes of that structure is they're all gathered around. It's in the centre of the showground, so I presume it was used by officials or judges. This third photo is a group of pastoralists taken at the Wagga Show. I'm not sure what year. James Gormley is in the front row this time, and fortunately we have the names of most of the people in that crowd. This 1911 photo has a great capture of the Hammond Hall, which appears to have had the same facade on all four sides. Extending west from Hammond Hall was what we now refer to as Sideshow Alley. And I understand that Sideshow Alley was a concept that developed in the 1920s. This is another photo of Hammond Hall, and as you can see, it's quite an attractive building architecturally, and I imagine it was much appreciated by visitors to the site in those days. This is another photograph of Hammond Hall, but in this we can see that we've now got motor cars as a means of transport, as well as the horse-drawn vehicles. I just love this shot, possibly circa 1890s. It's Hammond Hall in the background, which is really nice, and just this fantastic shot of a lady riding side saddle on a beautiful horse. I suspect this building, which is labelled luncheon rooms, could well be the original pavilion building. This photo shows the destruction of Hammond Hall by fire in 1974. This photo of the Croker Pavilion was taken, we think, around about 1965. Many of us would know it later on as a place where they held dancing lessons. These two photos depict activity in Sideshow Alley in the Wagga Wagga Show. This photo would bring back memories for many people. I'm amazed at how packed the place is. This is another photo of Sideshow Alley at the eastern end. This is a 1918 photo of Sideshow Alley taken from towards the western end. This photo is said to be one of the Stone family visiting the Wagga Wagga Show in 1925. This is a family from Cooma visiting the show and enjoying their lunch in 1911. Many families packed a picnic lunch, and all of them, including the children, wore their best clothes. I can imagine it was quite an event for the family. Another picnic lunch, again in 1911. This 1902 photo shows a group of people enjoying a cup of tea. This photo, said to be taken in 1911, shows that ladies could also drive cars. This shows a magnificent Clydesdale being assessed at the Wagga Show. This 1917 photo shows the champion Merino Ram NU at the Wagga Wagga Show. Another display of Clydesdales and other activity on the central ground. One end of the showground in 1918. Activities at the showground included shearing demonstrations and of course wood chopping competitions. These photos depict displays within the halls, including one from Bartle Nixon of North Wagga Wagga. This photo depicts a 1911 exhibit from the government farm at Wagga Wagga. Kiamba Smith Hall, as it was originally when first built. This is Kiamba Smith Hall again, with some subsequent additions to the building. And yet one more photo of Kiamba Smith Hall, this time taken from the opposite end. This photo and the next show several floats that have been prepared to feature in the show.